Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you how to crochet this cute little baby and toddler sweater. So this sweater can be made in a number of different sizes, and for all of the information on how to make the different sizes, please see the description box below this video. So thank you very much for watching, and please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. To begin your sweater, you want to start off by making a slip knot. So to do a slip knot, you want to take your yarn and take your finger and wrap the yarn around your finger once and then twice. Then take the first loop and pull it over the second loop, and then take the second loop and pull it all the way over your finger. You then want to take your crochet hook, go in through this space and pull tight, and there you have a slip knot. So once you have your slip knot, you now want to make your foundation chain, and we are going to chain 57. So you want to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 57. So I have finished making my foundation chain of 57, and we're now ready to move on to round 1 of our sweater. So we are now on to round 1, and round 1 is a simple round of double crochet. So we're just going to do 1 double crochet into each and every chain along. And we're going to work our first double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So here is the first chain from the hook, and here is the second, and into this chain we're going to do our first double crochet. So to do a double crochet, yarn over and go into this chain, the second chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and then yarn over and pull through the final 2 loops on your hook. So there we have 1 double crochet. So now we're going to go into the next chain along and yarn over and go into this chain and work 1 double crochet into this chain as well. Then we're going to work 1 double crochet into the next chain, and then 1 into the next, and do this all the way along for round 1, 1 double crochet into each and every chain. So I am just coming to the end of round 1, and I have 1 last chain to work into. Here's my slip knot, and here is my last chain, and we're going to go into this chain and work 1 last double crochet like that, and there we have completed round 1. And at the end of this round you should have worked 56 double crochets across. So you should have 56 double crochets in round 1, and that does not include the chain 1 that we skipped at the beginning. So at the very beginning of the round, we worked into the second chain from the hook, and we skipped the first chain from the hook, and that skipped chain does not count as a stitch. That is our turning chain. So you should have 56 double crochets across, not including that chain 1. And if you do, then we are ready to move on to round 2 of our sweater. So we are now on to round 2, and to begin this round you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So now in round 2 we are going to do 2 double crochets into 1 stitch, but then 1 double crochet into the next stitch, then 2 double crochets both into the next stitch, but then 1 double crochet into the next one, and we're going to repeat that all the way along for round 2. So we have chained 1 and turned, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we're going to go down into this very first stitch here and work 2 double crochets both into this stitch. So yarn over and go down into this very first stitch and work 1 double crochet, and then yarn over and go down into the same stitch again and work a second one. So there we have 2 double crochets both into this first stitch, and now into the next stitch we're going to go into this one and work just 1 double crochet. So there we have 2, 1. So into the next stitch we're going to go into here and work 2 double crochets both into this stitch. So go back down into the same stitch again for a second one. So there we have 2 double crochets both into this stitch. So now we're going to do 1 double crochet into the next one. So there we have 2, 1, 2, 1, and we're going to repeat that all the way along for round 2. So keep repeating that again and again and again. So I have just finished repeating that again and again and again for round 2, and I have come to the very end of the round, and I just wanted to show you that at the very end of this round you should find that you work 1 double crochet into the very last stitch. So as we started off by doing 2 double crochets into the first stitch, you should find that we finish off by doing 1 double crochet into the last one. So I'm going to go into this last stitch here and work 1 last double crochet. And also you need to make sure that you are not going into the chain 1, that you're going into the double crochet. So this is the first double crochet from round 1. You need to make sure that you're going into that stitch and not the chain 1 that we skipped. And at the end of this round, you should find that you have 84 double crochets across. So you should have worked 84 double crochets in round 2. And if you have, then we are ready to move on to round 3. So we are now on to round 3. And to begin this round, you want to chain 1 and turn. And this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So now in round 3, we are going to do 2 double crochets both into one stitch, but then 1 double crochet into the next stitch and 1 double crochet into the next one. Then 2 double crochets into the next stitch, 1 into the next, 1 into the next, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. So we're doing 2 double crochets into every third stitch. So we're going to start off by going down into this very first stitch here, as our chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So yarn over and go down into this stitch and work 1 double crochet. And then yarn over and go down into the same stitch again for a second time and work a second double crochet. So there we have 2 double crochets both into that first stitch there. So now we're going to do 1 double crochet into the next one and then 1 double crochet into the next one. So we have done 2, 1, 1, and we're going to repeat that again and again and again. So go into the next stitch and do 2 double crochets both into this stitch. And then we're going to do 1 into the next and 1 into the next. So we have 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, and keep repeating that again and again and again for this round. So I'm just coming to the end of round 3. So I'm going to do 2 double crochets into this stitch here, then 1 into the next, and 1 into the very last stitch here. And again, make sure that you're going into the last double crochet and not the chain 1. So you should find that you finish off by doing 1 double crochet as we started off on a 2. And at the end of this round, you should have worked 112 double crochets across. So 112. And if you do, then we are ready to move on to round 4. So we are now on to round 4, and to begin this round, you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So round 4 is pretty similar to the last 2 rounds, but in this round we're going to do 2 double crochets both into one stitch, but then 1 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 into the next, and then 1 into the next. So we're going to keep repeating that again and again and again. 2 1 1 1 2 1 1 1. So for round 4 we're doing 2 double crochets into every 4th stitch. So go down into this first stitch here and work 2 double crochets both into the very first stitch, like that. And now do 1 double crochet into the next stitch, 1 into the next, and 1 into the next one along. So there we have 2 1 1 1, and continue to repeat this all the way along for round 4. So I'm going to do 2 double crochets both into the next stitch, like that. And now I'm going to do 1 into the next one along, 1 into the next one along, and 1 into the next one along. So we have 2 1 1 1 2 1 1 1, and continue to repeat that all the way along for this round. I have finished working that all the way along for round 4. So I finished off by working a last set of 2 1 1 1. And at the end of this round, you should have worked 140 double crochets across. So 140, and I would recommend that you go back and check that you have the right number of stitches. So count them and check, and if you don't, then this will be the time to correct that and see where you went wrong and try to correct it. So you can add in a couple of extra stitches if you are a few short, or skip a few if you have a few too many, or work a few sets of 2 double crochets together if you have too many. So just make sure that you have 140 double crochets across at the end of round 4, and if you do, then we are ready to move on to the next round. So we are now on to round 5 of our sweater, and for the next 2 rounds, so for rounds 5 and round 6, we're going to do the exact same thing. And in each of those rounds, we're just going to do 1 double crochet into each and every stitch across. So we are not increasing anymore. So for rounds 5 and 6, just do 1 double crochet into each stitch across. So to begin each round, chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 never counts as a stitch. And we're now going to go down into this very first stitch here and do 1 double crochet, and then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch, and 1 into the next, and repeat this all the way along for round 5. And then once you come to the very end, chain 1 and turn, and then work 1 double crochet back into each stitch across for round 6. And in both of those rounds, you should still work 140 double crochets across. As we're not increasing anymore, you should work 140 in each round. So do that for those 2 rounds. So I have just finished working those 2 rounds, rounds 5 and round 6. So I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rounds. And at the end of round 6, I just went back and counted my stitches and made sure that I still have 140 double crochets across. It's really important that you still have the same number of stitches, 140. And now at the end of round 6, before we move on to the next round, we are going to turn our strip, which we have here, into a big loop. So what we're going to do is we're going to work a slip stitch into the first double crochet of the round. So you want to take your work, So take just where you finished off and then go to the very first double crochet of the round, of round 6 here, and you need to make sure that your work is not twisted. So go to the first double crochet and insert your hook through this double crochet, then take your yarn over and pull through both loops on your hook like that. And there we have worked a slip stitch and turned our strip into a ring. And now we're ready to move on to round 7. So we are now on to round 7 of our sweater, and in this round we're going to take our ring, which we have here, or our big loop, and turn this into a sweater shape. So we're going to be adding in the front, the back and the armholes. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to work along a certain number of stitches for the first half of the front of our sweater, and this is the opening at the front here. And then we're going to skip a certain number for the first armhole, then work along a number of stitches for the back, skip another certain number for the other armhole, and then work along the rest of the stitches for the other half of the front. And that is how we are going to create the shape in round 7. So to begin round 7, we're going to start off by chaining 1 and turning. So chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So we're going to start off by working 20 double crochets, and this is going to form the first half of the front of our sweater. So we're going to do 1 double crochet into each of the next 20 stitches. So yarn over and go down into this first stitch here and work 1 double crochet. So work 1 double crochet into this first one, then work 1 into the next, then work a third one along, and then a fourth, then a fifth, then a sixth, and do this until you have 20. I have just finished working those 20 double crochets, and I would always recommend going back and checking that you have worked 20. So there we have the first half of the front of our sweater completed, and we're going to move on to the first armhole. And for this armhole, we are just going to skip 30 stitches. So skip 30. So you need to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way up to 30. So here is my 30th stitch. So this is the 30th one along, and I'm going to skip this stitch and then into the next stitch along. So this one would be the 31st one along. I'm going to work 1 double crochet. So skip the 30th one and then yarn over and go into this next one here, so the one after the 30th. And I like to kind of bring my work together to get a nice tight double crochet, and then work 1 double crochet like that. And there you can see we have skipped our stitches for the armhole. So this is the armhole, and I would always recommend going back and checking that you did indeed skip 30. And if you have, then we are ready to move on to the back. So we are now on to the back of our sweater, and for the back of our sweater we're going to work 40 double crochets. So 40 for the back. And this double crochet that we just worked here is actually the first double crochet at the back. So we have already worked the first one. So now we're going to work the second and then the third, and keep doing this until you have 40. So I have just finished doing those 40 double crochets for the back like that. And now we are going to move on to the next armhole. And to do this armhole, we're going to do the exact same thing as we did for the other one. We're just going to skip 30 stitches. So count 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 30. So here is my 30th double crochet along, and I'm going to skip this one and then yarn over and go into the next stitch. So this would be the 31st one along, and work 1 double crochet. So kind of pull your work together and work 1 double crochet into the 31st one along, and then go back and count that you have skipped 30 for the armhole. And if you have, then we're ready to move on with the other half of the front. So now to finish off round 7, you just want to work 1 double crochet into the rest of the stitches across, and that should be 20 in total, and that 20 includes this one that we have just done, and this forms the other half of the front. So work 1 into the next stitch, and then 1 double crochet into the next one, and do this all the way across, and this should be 20 in total, including the first one that we had already just done. So I have just finished working those 20 double crochets, and at the end of this round we are not working a slip stitch, so do not work a slip stitch. And you can see we have created the shape of our sweater. We have the front, the back, the 2 armholes, and this is going to be the opening that we will have at the front. And now we're ready to move on to round 8. So we are now on to round 8 of our sweater, and the rest of our sweater, so the rest of the length of our sweater is very simple. We're just going to do rounds of 1 double crochet into each stitch around until our sweater is long enough. So just keep doing rounds of 1 double crochet into each stitch around until you feel that your sweater is the length that you want it. And obviously the bigger the size that you are doing, the more rounds you may want to do. So we're going to begin round 8, which is our very first round of 1 double crochet into each stitch. And this is where we have finished off from round 7. We have not worked a slip stitch, and that is because from this point onward we are going to start working in a spiral and start using a stitch marker. And the reason that I've decided to do that is because we have our seam at the front of our sweater. If we start working slip stitches, that will become pretty obvious and you will have an obvious line down the front. So to stop that from happening, we're going to work in a spiral and use a stitch marker. Round 8, we're going to work 1 double crochet into the first stitch. So we're not doing a slip stitch, we're not turning. You just go straight into the first stitch of the new round. So you go into this stitch here, not the chain 1 from before, the very first double crochet, and go into this stitch and work 1 double crochet into this one. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take a stitch marker. So this is my stitch marker, and if you don't have one of these, you can use a safety pin or a paper clip or just a piece of yarn in a different colour. And you want to insert this into the stitch that we have just done. So insert it into the very first stitch of the round, and that way we will know that when we reach this stitch marker, we have come to the end of the round, and we will then remove the stitch marker, work the first double crochet of the new round, and then place the stitch marker back into that stitch. And that is how we use a stitch marker. So now just go into the next stitch and do 1 double crochet, and then do 1 double crochet into the next one, and 1 into the next, and continue to do this all the way around, 1 double crochet into each and every stitch. And when you come to the armholes, just go straight across. Do not go up into them, we're going to create the sleeves later. So just go straight across and continue to work 1 double crochet into each and every stitch. So I have just finished working that all the way around, so 1 double crochet into each stitch. and I know that I have come to the end of my round because I have reached my stitch marker. So I know that this was the first stitch of the round, so I know that I have come to the end of the round. So now we're going to move on to the next round. So we're now going to work our next round of just 1 double crochet into each stitch. So to begin this round, remove your stitch marker and then work your first double crochet of the round. So work your very first double crochet of this round. Then take your stitch marker and replace it back into this stitch. And that way you know that when you reach this again that you have come to the end of the round. And now we're just going to continue by doing 1 double crochet into each stitch around. And then when we reach the stitch marker, we will move on to the next one. And we'll remove the stitch marker, work the first double crochet of the new round, place the stitch marker back into that first stitch, and then continue by working double crochets all the way around. And just repeat this again and again and again until you feel that your sweater is long enough. So once you have finished working the length of your sweater, you now want to move on and add the sleeves. So as you can see, I actually haven't worked the length of my sweater yet, and that is just for the sake of the tutorial. I want to get on and show you the sleeves, but for your sweater, I would definitely recommend working the length first and then moving on to the sleeves. It's a lot easier that way. So for the sleeves, we're going to start off by working this left one here. So you want to take your sleeve or your work like this and kind of turn it over to the back. And we're going to start off by attaching our yarn, our new yarn, into the very first stitch of the sleeve. So this stitch here, so this is the first stitch that has not been worked into. So insert your hook into this stitch, the first one on the back, and then take your new yarn, place this over the end of your hook, pull this through, and then chain 1. And if you like, you can chain 1 with both pieces of yarn, the yarn coming from the ball and also the end or the tail, to make sure that it is nice and secure, and then just drop the tail. So there we have attached our new yarn, and we're ready to move on with the rest of the sleeve. So we are now on to round 1 of the sleeve, and to begin this round you want to work 30 double crochets. So 1 double crochet into each of the next 30 stitches. So we're going to start off by yarning over and going down into this very first stitch here, so the same stitch that we attached our new yarn into, and working 1 double crochet. Then you want to work 1 double crochet into the next stitch along, and 1 into the next, and do this until you have 30. So I have just finished working those 30 double crochets, and you should find that the very last one that you work is worked into the last stitch of the armhole. And now to finish off the armhole, we're going to work 3 more double crochets. So we're going to work 3 more along this section here. So we're going to work our first one into the side of this stitch here. So we have this stitch here, and we're going to go into the side of this stitch. So yarn over and go into the actual side of the stitch. It doesn't matter where, just go into the side and work 1 double crochet. Then we're going to work our second one into this very bottom section here. So into this bottom bit, yarn over and go into the bottom section. So you can go wherever you like, just as long as it's in the bottom section, and work your second double crochet. And then your third and final double crochet of the sleeve is going to be worked into the side of this stitch. So the side of this one. So yarn over and go into this stitch here, go into the side and work 1 double crochet. So there in total you should have worked 33 double crochets for the first round of the sleeve, and we're going to work 33 in every single round. So now to finish off round 1, you want to go to the very first double crochet that you worked, go into this stitch and work a slip stitch. So not the chain 1, the first double crochet. So there we have round 1 of the sleeve completed, and we're ready to move on to round 2. So we are now on to round 2 of our sleeve, and for the rest of the sleeve we're just going to repeat rounds of double crochet. So to begin each round you want to chain 1 and turn, and then do 1 double crochet into each stitch around, and that should be 33. You should do 33 in every single round, and then finish off by doing a slip stitch into the first double crochet that you worked, and then repeat that again. Chain 1 and turn, do 1 double crochet into each stitch around, and then work a slip stitch, and keep repeating those rounds again and again until you feel that your sleeve is long enough. And that's why it's a good idea to do the length of your sweater first, as then you can make your sleeves in proportion with the length of your sweater. So to begin the next round, chain 1 and turn, and that is how we're going to begin every single round. Then yarn over and go down into this first stitch here and work 1 double crochet, then do 1 double crochet into the next stitch along, and 1 into the next, and 1 into the next, and repeat this all the way around. So I have just finished working that all the way around, and I went back and checked that I did 33 double crochets, and then to finish off, work a slip stitch into the very first double crochet that you worked. So do not go into the chain 1, go into the double crochet. And there we have that round completed, and we're going to continue to repeat that again and again and again. So chain 1 and turn, and then do 1 double crochet into the first stitch here, and do 1 into the next, and continue to do this until your sleeve is long enough. So once you have done your left sleeve, you want to move on to do the right one, and this sleeve is worked in the exact same way as the left one. So both sleeves are worked in the exact same way, but before you start this one, you want to turn your work inside out. So turn it inside out, and there you can start working here. So this is the stitch that you will attach your new yarn into, and by turning your work inside out, your seam will go along the back of your sweater and not the front. So make sure that you turn your work inside out before working the right sleeve, and then just work it in the exact same way as the other one. So you turn your work inside out, attach your yarn into this stitch here, the first stitch of the armhole, work all the way around, then work your 3 along the bottom, and then continue to do rounds of 1 double crochet into each stitch, 33 in each round, until this sleeve is the exact same length as the left one. So do the exact same thing, just turn it inside out before you start. So I have finished working the length of my sweater and working both arms, and I actually did the bottom 2 rounds of the length and also of both of the arms in a different colour. I did them in this grey. So if you want to change colours like I did, what you want to do is when you come to the point where you want to change colours on your length, go to the end of that round, and instead of moving on to the next round, so removing your stitch marker and moving on to the next round, work a slip stitch into the very first stitch of the round. So finish off the round by working a slip stitch, and then fasten off the colour that you were using. So pull your yarn out and your hook and cut your yarn, and then take your new colour, and I would go to attach your new colour around the back of your work, and attach your new colour just in the exact same way as I showed you how to attach it at the beginning of the sleeves. insert your hook into the stitch, pull it through and then chain 1. And then just continue to do 1 double crochet into each stitch around and continue to do your rounds but in a different colour. And then once you have your sweater to the perfect length, you then want to work a slip stitch into the very first stitch of the round. So finish off by working a slip stitch. So remove your stitch marker out of the first stitch of the round and then work a slip stitch into that stitch. And then fasten off and weave all of your ends into the inside. And then for the sleeves, if you want the bottom of the sleeves to be in a different colour, then you do the exact same thing. Work your last round, fasten off, so work your last round of whatever colour you were using, work a slip stitch and fasten off, then attach your new colour somewhere around the back and then just work 1 or 2 or 3 rounds until your sleeves are the length that you want them. And then to finish off, work your last slip stitch, fasten off and weave all of your ends into the inside of your work. So I have done the length of my sweater and I have done my left and right sleeve. And then I went ahead and added a collar onto my sweater and this little button section here, but both of these are completely optional. So if you want to make a collar, it is very simple. It looks like it would be something that is tricky, but it's not. It's a really simple process. All you do is attach your yarn into the corner here. So attach your yarn in the same way, insert your hook into the stitch, pull it through and chain 1 into this corner, and then you want to go down into this first stitch and work 1 double crochet. And then work 1 double crochet into every single stitch around the neckline. Go all the way around the neckline, so all the way here, and you stop here. And that should be 56 stitches in total, so 56 double crochets. And I wouldn't bother counting, it doesn't really matter, but it should be about 56. So 1 into each stitch of the neckline, so you can see you go all the way around the back and down, 1 double crochet into each stitch. And then for round 2 of the collar, you chain 1 and turn and do 1 double crochet into each stitch around until you come back here, and that again should be 56. And then you just want to keep repeating that round 2, so chain 1 and turn and do 1 double crochet into each stitch around until you feel that your collar is the right length or the right size. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds in total. And then once you have it to the length that you want it, just fasten off. So pull your yarn out and your hook and cut your yarn, and then you have your collar. So it's very simple to create a collar. Just do rounds of 1 double crochet into each stitch around the neckline. So attach your yarn in the bottom corner here, go all the way around, back, round, back, round and back. And like I said, I did 5 rounds, but you can do more or less. And then for this little button strip here, all I did was I attached my yarn up here in this same method. I just inserted my hook into the top stitch, pulled my yarn through and chained 1. And then I did 1 double crochet into each stitch along here, and you're actually working into the side of the stitches. So you need to go into the side of the stitches here, which can be a little bit tricky, but go into the sides. And I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. But if you used a bigger crochet hook, then you'll probably have to do more. So do as many as you want, and then I just chained 1 and turned and did 1 double crochet into each stitch along again. So I did another 11 double crochets, but you can do as many rounds of this as you like. So you could make this 4 or 5 rows wide, it's up to you, but I just did 2 rows wide. And then I attached 2 little car buttons over this side and just used the spaces in between the stitches as my buttonholes, and I have finished. So the collar and this are completely optional, but if you want to do them, then you should be able to work out how to make them from what I have just said. So there we go, we have finished our sweater. So I have finished working my sweater, so I have the length finished, both of the arms, the collar, and then my little button section here. And I have weaved all of my ends into the inside of my sweater, and I have finished. So that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it easy to follow. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos, and thanks again for watching. Bye!